Hello friends, Coach Morgan here, and welcome to 2022. I'm super excited to be here with you guys, and I'm super excited to share a little something with you guys. If you didn't notice, the title of this video is called Miles with Morgan. That is because I am starting an entire new vlog series. I want all of you out there to come and train with me, learn with me. I really want to be more interactive with you, the community. I want you to be able to learn through my experiences. I want to be able to coach you through my perspective, and what better way to do that than by taking you along with me through all of my journeys as I am learning and training myself. I have been a coach here at The Run Experience for almost 4 years now. And yeah, maybe you've seen me do some vlog style videos on some races that I've done and things like that, but I want you guys to get to know me as a coach. So I think I'm gonna start from the beginning. So where did I get my start? How did I get into running? Well, I grew up in upstate New York and I started running. I was on the track team starting in 7th grade. Now, I'll let you guys do the math there, but I've been running for over half my life, almost 16 years now. But every day I'm learning something new, learning more about myself, which helps me coach others and you guys. So my events in high school were primarily the 400 hurdles and pole vaulting. I definitely was more of a sprinter and I dabbled in some of the field events. The only other sport I played up until that point was soccer. And I remember going into 10th grade, my coach was like, "You're not playing soccer anymore. You're gonna run cross country." And I was like, "Ew, long distance? Like, no, thank you." I did it and I complained about it every step of the way. And as most of you know, I've done some longer distances since then. And it's just been like a big I told you so because he thought I was gonna be a really good long distance runner. So when I went to college, I did run for my first year. Primarily, I was doing, once again, the 400-meter hurdles and pole vault, but I transferred schools after my first year, and then there was actually no track team at the school that I transferred to, and I was like, but I was definitely more focused on finishing up my degree and working alongside that to get me through college. But I still had this big urge to run, especially coming off of collegiate running where I was doing 2 different sports essentially. I was pole vaulting and doing the 400 hurdles. So I had like a strength session and then I had a sprint session with the hurdles and then drills and then also pole vaulting drills. So, I was like kind of riding that high and I was like, oh man, what am I gonna do? I've never not been on a team before. So like, what are my next steps? So I know that I did like a couple 5Ks and I just would like go out and run, and I would go to the track every once in a while, but it wasn't scratching that itch that I had for running. So eventually I said, you know what, if I'm not gonna be able to go faster, I'm just gonna go longer, right? Because that'll take up more time and maybe that'll burn off all this energy. So I signed up for my first half marathon. It went pretty good. I think it was like a 1:43. I don't remember though. And I had a great time. I love the half marathon distance and still do. So after that I was like, what's like another 13.1 miles? Like, all right, we're gonna do a marathon. We're gonna just sign up and do it. So 2013 rolls around and one of my best friends that I ran with throughout high school, she ran her first marathon and I was like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever. You're amazing. And she qualified for the Boston Marathon on her first marathon. And I was like, well, that's really cool, but I don't know what that means. So she ran the 2013 Boston Marathon. And if you guys know what that means, that was the year of the bombing. She is fine. She was nowhere near the finish line at the time, but I knew that she was running the race. I was working in a sporting goods store at the time, and so like the race was on TV. It was like a big thing, and it was a very bad day. It was really bad. So after that, I was very invested in this race and watching the community come back after a terrorist attack was like, I was like, I need to run this race. Like, I have to be there. I have to feel this community. I just want to be involved in this some way, shape, or form. So I signed up for my first marathon and it was at that time the hardest thing I had ever done. I honestly knew nothing about training at that point. I think the longest training run I did was like maybe 15 miles, maybe, and it was slow and hard. And I didn't take any nutrition with me, no water. Absolutely nothing. I'm pretty sure I called somebody that day and had them come pick me up from my long run because I was like, I can't make it back. So that was not a good precedent. What's the word I'm looking for? It was not a good To predict and estimate in advance. Forecast, we'll say forecast. It's not a good forecast of what the race was going to be. I believe my first marathon I ran around 4 hours and 30 minutes or something like that. I'm pretty sure the only thing I very vividly remember eating was like a Dixie cup full of jelly beans. And I think maybe I had some water on the course. Yeah, I was not ready for that thing, and I kind of swore off like marathons after that point. I was like, I knew I wasn't good at this long distance thing. It was just not for me. And I ended up moving to Gainesville, Florida, and I was there for a year, and then I moved up to Charleston, South Carolina for a couple years. And in that time, I didn't have you yet. I kind of fell out of love with running, but like, you know, I think a lot of people go through that. And I had already been running for almost 10 years at that point, and everything was so competitive all the time, right? High school and college, it was like always races, right? And everything was just preparing for the next race. So I never had this time to just like chill, so I didn't really know what to do with it. And then one of the places that I was working at in Charleston was actually a golf shop, but I was working closely with like the HR department kind of, and we were working on this like healthy kickstart for the company and like doing challenges for people that I helped promote. And then that kind of like got me back into it again, kind of thinking about health. And I met a friend there who was like really into yoga, so we went to a couple of yoga classes together, and it kind of got me back on that track. And then I was like, you know what, I'm gonna sign up for another marathon. I'm gonna try to do more training. And I was really invested because I had my degree at this point. My degree is in exercise science, and I was like, I'm gonna use what I learned and apply it to myself about making sure that I'm strength training and giving myself the rest that I need and mobility and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, this is actually starting to work. Like, I can feel myself getting faster again. I can maintain. Oh, nutrition actually helps when you're running. I would have known. So I really invested a lot of time into making sure that I was doing more of the right things, or at least what the internet said were the right things. And so yeah, my next marathon that I did was the Kiowa Island Marathon in Kiowa, South Carolina. And so I told you guys the cutoff was 3:35 for Boston, and I ran a 3:35:30, and I was like, oh my God. But I had cut an hour off my time from the first marathon, so I was like, well, this is awesome. And I'm looking back at it, honestly, like the way that my progression in running worked, I'm actually kind of glad that I didn't, because when I finally did it, it was like, I don't know, it was too epic to even imagine. So anyways, flash forward, I had a break in work, and I promise the story is going somewhere. And I was like, I'm gonna go visit my best friend, Kendra, who lived in Oakland, California at the time, and she worked in San Francisco. And I went out there for 10 days. And when I tell you I fell in love with that city, oh my God. Like, I left my heart in San Francisco. Like, absolutely, that's how I felt when I came back to Charleston. We did these amazing hikes. We ran across the Golden Gate Bridge. I was like, life goals, honestly. I remember, so we did like down and back across the bridge. We started on the San Francisco side, and we like took pictures at the turnaround point. And I remember like turning and looking up. Essentially, when you're on the other side of the bridge, you are looking into Marin, and it's just kind of like hills. I saw people running up it, and I was like, what are they doing? I've been a road runner and track my entire life. I just found out about marathons and like people do this stuff. And Kendra was like, yeah, they like, you can go for like a really long time. There's like some cool epic trails. And so the next day we went on one of them, and it turns out it was like one of the most famous trails, the Dipsy Trail. And I was like, people like run on the trails and just like run out in the woods forever. And she's like, yeah. I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever heard about. I love being outside. I knew hiking was a thing, but like, we're just gonna like run up the side of mountains. Like, okay, sign me up. So I visited her in July, and I was officially moved into my first apartment in San Francisco on October 1st. So once I moved to San Francisco, I like full head dove into the running community there. I was working at Lululemon, and they have, you know, they had a run program, but they also like had a ton of outreaches. I got to meet so many people and runners, and it was amazing. And from there, the run group, I actually started coaching for them. And so I got to meet a lot of runners, and I really got to actually put my coaching skills to the test. I had taken a personal training job as well too, so I was really getting to actually use my knowledge as a run coach for the first time, and I loved it. And one of the people that I met through Lululemon, which if you guys watch our channel, is Michael Zinski, and he's the one who actually introduced me to Coach Nate, and here I am. I went on a run with, well, I thought I was going on a run with Coach Mike, and turns out him and Coach Nate were gonna meet up and go for a mountain bike ride. I ran alongside them. Coach Nate's like, how is this girl keeping up with us? We were on mountain bikes, we were going up a hill. And kind of the rest is history. We just chatted like a couple days later, and he was like, I like your vibe. And I was like, I like your vibe. Let's make some videos together. And now here I am. But like, needless to say, I fell in love with running again. And it was the first time that I had been able to go out on these trails and just meet a whole other group of runners that I had never met before, and learn this whole other skill. Because I know it's all running, right? To some people, it's not. It's definitely not. But like, to also just expand my repertoire of knowledge in the running community. And when I was there, when I was doing my coaching, I was able to sign up for another marathon, which will only be my third marathon at this point. I was pretty dialed into my training because I was able to train with so many great people that I was like, okay, if I qualify for the Boston Marathon, I've been seeing all this trail stuff, I'm gonna sign up for my first ultra. So something over a marathon, which in my mind is a 50K. It's like the first thing I was like, I'm gonna sign up for 50K. Ran the race and I qualified for Boston. And when I tell you, it was like one of the best feelings to like reach a goal that you have been training for 3 years. I was like, oh my God. And then I remembered that I said I was gonna sign up for an ultra, and I was like, oh no, what have I done? So I finally got to run Boston, and I've done a couple of videos on this before, but like the short and quick story of my first Boston in 2019 was, it was just an absolute disaster. Not that I wasn't trained for it, my body was not ready to run that day. I actually threw up before the race even started, and then multiple times on the course. It was way more humid than we thought it was gonna be, and I was just like pouring sweat at the start of the race. So throwing up, loss of liquids through sweat, I was not set up for success, and I ran 4 hours and 20 minutes. So an hour slower than my qualifying time. I had ran a 3:11 for my qualifying time. I was like, oh boy. But all good, because I came back a month later, ran another marathon, ran a 3:17, so I was able to qualify for 2020. We all know what happens there. But, and I think like the one thing that actually saved me at Boston was, so Boston's in April, so we're going back to the fall. We had that weird year in California where it was really, really, really smoky in 2018, and that's when my first ultra was supposed to be, was North Face. And so I was doing a lot of trail running, a lot of training, lots of longer distance, and I actually ran my first 50K in December of 2018. Nothing super crazy happened. I feel like I worked my nutrition really well because I was like really dialed into that. But all that ultra training really saved me for Boston because, you know, I knew how to run for 4 hours, 5 hours on my feet. Whereas, you know, in years past, obviously, I wasn't doing those long of training runs leading up to other marathons. So I was able to like just get through Boston just like one foot in front of the other. So if you were ever wondering if ultra training helps you in your marathon, like absolutely. Hopefully you don't have that bad of a race, but like the mental game of just like shutting off and focusing and just being like, I just got to get this done. I know that I have to make it to the finish line. And from there, I just like continued to fall in love with running. I signed up for North Face again to run in 2019 in the fall and loved running out on the trails. It was amazing and just such like a freeing experience. And you know, you learn so much about yourself in those moments of just like, I am 20 miles in and I still have like a couple more miles to go. And I never thought that I'd be able to run that far. And yet you can still continue to move even when you think you can't. And I had lots of goals right before, like, you know, you start thinking about your goals this time of year, and like going into 2020, of course, we all had these like great goals that we wanted to accomplish. And I always feel really bad saying this because I know what 2020 was, but the start of 2020 essentially defined the rest of my life in a good way. Because that's when I met Grady, my now husband. We met through running and through November Project. If you don't know what that is, it's free fitness classes where it's like just a huge fun community. And so in the start of 2020, we, you know, were just getting to know each other, and I found out that he was into all of these other sports that I had just always been too, I guess, scared to like start on my own. I had known, all I knew was running. I love to run, but like I was always wanting to try other sports. So we went rock climbing for the first time, and I was like, oh my God, like this is amazing. Like I am so excited to have a partner, not just a partner, but a training partner as well too, and someone who shares my enthusiasm for sports and being outdoors and being active and being healthy. Like this is awesome. And he was actually the one who convinced me to sign up for Javelina. Javelina at 100. I was like, I'd only done a 50K, like feels like a big jump. Yeah, and I got to run my first 100-mile race. So from 2020 leading up until now, 2022, I have competed in a couple of Spartan races, the obstacle course races. Absolutely loved it. Have been diving way more into strength training and really getting back on that regimen because it just makes me feel great. Done a lot more rock climbing, working on getting my skiing skills down, some cross country and backcountry, and I love it. I love all of it. I love being an athlete. And I really want to be able to show that to you guys and to help you feel that same way. And honestly, whatever sport that you love and feel that passionate about. And that's, from a coaching standpoint, that's the goal. And even to this day, 16 years later, I'm still learning and I'm still loving it. So if that's what you guys want to do, you want to learn, you want to love your sport, follow along with me because I have a lot of goals for 2022. So I live in Maine now. I don't think I said that before, but I live here in Maine and actually in New Hampshire, in the White Mountains. There are 48 4,000 foot mountains, and actually this little guy over here, this thing, shows them all, and I have little pinpoints and I want to do them all. I don't have a marathon scheduled yet. I would love to have a fall marathon to train again for because I want to break 3 hours in the marathon. I said it, there it is. And then I've only done 3 obstacle course races and I have loved that world. It is just this mixture of pure running and pure strength put together with a huge like mental component of literally getting over obstacles. It's been so much fun. I am really enjoying it. And this like scratches that itch of just like, I don't like roll around in the dirt and like pick up heavy stuff, that very caveman aspect to it. So you guys will get to see a lot of that training. In June, both Grady and I are racing Broken Arrow. We're gonna be going back out to California, to Tahoe to do that race. And as a very hilly course, which is normally not my specialty, but I want to make it something that I'm better at. So I'm gonna be doing a lot of hill training, which going back, running those 48 4,000 foot mountains is definitely going to help out with that. So yeah, I have a lot of things going on in 2022 and I'm really excited to share them with you. What are your goals? What do you guys want to accomplish in 2022? Let me know down below. If there is anything that I can make a video about or you want to see more about, please let me know because that's what I am here for. And I'm really excited for you guys to share some miles with me, Morgan, coming up this year. So hope you all had a great happy new year and thanks for tuning into my story. I'll see you guys next week. The literal minute I start filming, this happens every time. Every time. Got my ring light set up. I have a cat here. The dogs are fighting. One's over there. It is just, it's a mess. It's hysteria in here every time I get the camera out.